Yeah, g'day. It's Peter from Bundaberg Commercial, and our channel focuses on helping people who have been looking to buy and sell a commercial property for more than 6 months. This episode today, we're going to talk about your greatest fear. We're going to get serious about life. Now, let me see. I'm going to use human intelligence rather than artificial intelligence. Now, what is your greatest fear as a buyer? Your greatest fear is being ripped off. You don't want to be in a situation where you bought a commercial property for $1 million and it turns out to be worth 800,000. You don't want to be buying a business that's worth $1 million and be bankrupt in 3 months. Good news, you're normal. This is what every buyer fears, and we're going to have a look at ways of addressing these fears so that it's not a paralyzing fear. Think firstly of when was the last time you were ripped off? When did it happen for you? And I had a bit of a think, and look, probably been a while, but it was a vacuum cleaner salesperson that got me. We got ourselves a vacuum cleaner, had to replace the other one. Yeah, I know, sexy, exciting stuff, but life goes on in a household. And they gave me this wonderful one, and we explained that we had a cat who just loves to molt everywhere, so a lot of our work is just picking up the cat fur off the carpet and the rugs and the everywhere else that cat fur gets to go to. And got the unit home, and it had a power head or had a turbo head. And what it turned out is I needed a power head. All a turbo head did is you had to push it on the carpet. So now every time I go and do vacuuming and I'm pushing the vacuum cleaner head on the carpet instead of it driving and self-propelling itself, I just sit there and said, gee, I got ripped off. I'm going to go back and hammer that person. But, that was like years ago. So you've probably got experiences like that. And, it is the basis for what brings you fear. I was very lucky when I first started in sales, a couple of years in. Our manager took all the sales reps and sales managers off to a conference, and there was a session on there on managing fears and phobias and anxieties. Now, to me, my concern was anxiety, and that's similar to what a fear is in regards to buying something and being ripped off. And it was explained to us that the best way to tackle it is with logic. Logic overrides emotion on a good day, eventually. Once you get those hormone levels down and all the chemicals down, and your brain starts to kick into gear and say, hey, listen, brain, I am the boss. This is what happens. You will find that you can overcome your fear. A little bit of fear is a good thing. It keeps you nervous. It keeps you alive. It lets you know you're alive, and it keeps you active and aware. A lot of fear is a bad thing because it'll paralyze you. And quite often, I've had a lot of people on my list of buyers. I deal with so many buyers. A lot of them have been looking for a long time, and it's always the same paralyzing fear. They can't make the decision because they're worried that something is going to be wrong. They're going to get ripped off. Quite often the fear of being ripped off is from dealing with a bad salesperson. Now, my history, as we get to grow the viewership on the channel and have more viewers, people learn more and more about me. In a previous life, I was a sales rep for several generations or several decades for different companies. Some of the largest companies in Australia, such as Telstra, Foxtel. I've been selling electricity as well. There's a whole range of things, as well as commercial and property real estate agency. I was also a sales manager. I was the best sales manager in the country in the industry that I had. I was also probably the top 2 sales reps in the state. Number 2, got ripped off from the first guy because he cheated, but that's all right, babe. We know what's coming up, and karma will get you eventually, as they say. So I have a good understanding of where sales has come from, and I'm going to share some of that material with you to help you overcome your fear so that you can focus on buying that property or that business that you're looking for. Let's talk about the types of salespeople that are available. You can have what I would say a good salesperson or a bad salesperson. A bad salesperson usually has 1 or 2 flaws. And I find the reference that I use for coming from Stephen Covey, who wrote a book, it's an old book now, called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he speaks about measuring people by way of character and by way of competence. Now, competence means training and ability of being a salesperson. Now, I have my poor wife. She doesn't like going shopping with me because if we find a bad salesperson, I'm looking for the manager because I want to tell the manager, why haven't you trained that salesperson? Why haven't you given them the skills to do their job properly? And quite often the sales manager doesn't know either. And I actually have a different viewpoint when I get telemarketing calls. You know the ones. Yeah, it's Albid from ABC Sales. How are you today, sir? And I just sit there and say, I want to talk to you, Albid, because that is not a sales introduction. These people are well-meaning, but they haven't been skilled. And that's one of the signs of a bad salesperson. If you've got someone who hasn't been skilled, the odds are you're not going to get a good deal. The other side of the coin was character. So you may get a good salesperson, and then it's up to their character to determine how they use those skills. Do they, use it to go on the side of Darth Vader, or do they use it to go on the side of Yoda? It's good versus bad is what they're looking for. What purpose are they using their skills for? Is it to help match you to particular services that suit you, or is it about making target and selling their quota, making their commission? These are the things that we have a look at. I often, not often, but sometimes I get people coming up to me sort of saying, why should I work with you? Why should I pay you? You're just a salesperson. You get paid for doing nothing. And I say, I'll tell you what. You want to buy that business. If I get the seller to sell at a price that business is worth, and you as the buyer buy it for the price that it's worth, you won't need me, will you? So what do you reckon? How often do you think I get people saying, oh yeah, that's a good idea, Peter, I'll pay for what it's worth, or that's a good idea, Peter, I'll sell the business or property for what it's worth. And look, I'd love to have a different career. If people would just agree and pay fair price, I got no qualms on being a farmer or a fisherman, whatever. But, as long as people's emotions and values and greed get in the way, you're going to have salespeople. So there's a whole range of salespeople, and nothing happens till something sells. Let's get real. It doesn't matter if you're a business person, if you're selling a coffee, if you're selling sandwiches. Nothing happens in your business till somebody sells something. And there's all different types of salespeople. You can have your lawyer is a salesperson. He wants to influence you or convince you to go down a particular path with a contract or your will or something like inheritance. Your accountant is a salesperson. Your accountant wants you to go through a particular tax structure, wants them to have you trust them with your finances, for the next gosh knows how long. Your parents are salespeople. They want to influence you. They want you to go to university and do that right course. Don't listen to them. Overrated. They may want to have input into their future care for them, so they're being salespeople to you in regards to which avenue they want, care from home, etc. like that. Your kids are the best salespeople. They want to convince you on how much money you need to give them this weekend so they can go out and party. Everybody's a salesperson. You're a salesperson too. So don't think poorly of salespeople. Everybody has to be a salesperson at some time. And being in sales can be a very rewarding career, both for a person. I've had the opportunity to influence a lot of people, and they've been very happy with the results that come off. Other people have been able to influence companies and have great results for that company and for their customers. There are other people who have been in the sales environment and have influenced nations and countries and cultures. There's some tremendously great stuff that is available when people can negotiate and sell and have the skills and capabilities. It's just like any other trade. So don't be too scared when you're talking with a salesperson. They're just like you. They've got skill sets. They may be a good electrician, or you may be a good electrician. You may be a bad electrician. They may be a good salesperson. You may be a good salesperson. It's bits and pieces. We have a look at it. So what is the origins of sales? Sometimes I tell people that to understand where you are, you need to understand where you've been. Several thousands of years ago, they didn't have salespeople. We had farmers and fisher folk. A farmer would have, for argument's sake, sheep, and if they've got, they've shorn their sheep, they've got plenty of wool, more than what their family needs, what are they going to do? they're going to sell the rest of the wool. So selling's been around for millennia, for decades, or even more decades. Yeah, millennia, as in thousands and thousands of years. Where I think it generates from is when you have a situation that there is more supply than there is demand. If you've got more wool than you've got buyers, then you will probably find there's going to be a salesperson. And I like to share the story of the baker. Imagine in the dark ages in England, you got a guy who gets up at 3 a.m, makes 40 loaves of bread. By 6 a.m, all the village folk have come through. They bought their bread. He sold all his bread. By 8 o'clock, he goes to bed, gets some sleep. Does it the next day. Then one day he's down in the pub or the local inn and he's talking to the blacksmith. The blacksmith says, I could build you an oven that's bigger and will get you to produce 100 loaves of bread in the same time it would take you instead of doing 40. Farmer's had a few ales. Okay, let's do that. Sounds like a good plan to me. The oven's installed and the farmer and the baker, now produces 100 loaves of bread at 6 a.m. By 8 a.m, he sold 60 loaves, which is 20 more than what he had, but he's still got 40 loaves left. So he has to throw that out or give it to the animals or give it to the poor people, whatever they did in the dark ages with excess bread. The second day, he puts 100 loaves of bread out there. 8 o'clock comes, he's still got 40 left, just like yesterday. Enter Little Miss Mischief. And she says to the baker, I know she had 40 loaves of bread yesterday and you've got 40 loaves of bread here. And he says, can't get rid of that. There's just not enough people in the town. So she says, let me take those 40 loaves of bread and I'll go to the village next door and whatever I sell, you give me 20%. Well, I was just going to throw that bread out, so sounds good. Hence, we have the birth of our first salesperson. In this case, it's Little Miss Mischief, and off she goes with a loaf of bread and a product and a little caravan of goods, and sells bread, comes back, collects her commission, and away she goes from there. And I think that is essentially the start. Now, this continued on and really became an avenue where salespeople had a career when we had the Industrial Revolution. Suddenly, every baker had an oven that made 100 loaves of bread, as well as having mixers and freezers. The ability to produce more product created much more demand than we had, or much more supply than we had demand. And that is where we had really the birth of salespeople. That's all they did. They just sold the excess supply of material. Everybody likes to know where their origins come from. Now, you may have a fear of being ripped off. It's sort of like walking into your lounge room at night time. It's pitch black. You know that there's furniture there. You might be a little bit disorientated, but you're scared. And what I'm going to do in the next video is turn that light on so you no longer have to be fearful of being ripped off, especially by a salesperson. So next week we're going to have a look at talking about classical sales techniques and helping you identify when you've got a good salesperson who's probably going to have your interests at heart, and when you've got a bad salesperson, either they're poorly skilled or they've got the wrong morals, wrong moral barometer. So stay tuned for next week. Take care and God bless.